willing to?
Wow.
Are you willing to say you're playing in net for tonight?
What's that?
Are you willing to say
Harrison,
you're
yeah,
Harrison?
I'm gonna
Okay.
be going tonight. Yeah.
The whole game.
Yeah.
We saw Tyson in a regular jersey. Does that mean he's making progress in terms of where he's at?
Yeah, we've gradually kind of let him in some drills where some pushing and shoving. Now he's to the next level. So he's, I don't want to give a date, but obviously when you give a guy a little bit more physicality to practice, you're getting closer.
With Ristolainen out, you obviously have an open spot on
Yeah.
the blue line. What have you seen from Helge Grans so far?
Good. I've liked his progression. I think there's a good battle there. Ginning was talking to Reards the other day, and even in practice today, like on one-on-one drills, he looks good too. So there's, that's what you want to see. You want guys to push it. You guys know as well as I and D you're going to get injuries, and then, the seventh or eighth guy can be the sixth guy in a week. So you got to be ready for that. And but I've liked the progression of a couple of those guys.
What have you seen specifically from Grans, and maybe what do you need to see as you move through the rest of training camp to maybe be that guy?
Well, the identity for those guys, obviously you got to be a good puck moving defenseman, simple, but defending, right? If you're, are they going to score a lot of goals or a lot of points? Probably not. I'm not saying they can't join the rush, but what they got to do as well is corner work, boxing out, good one pass. I've seen a lot of really good defensemen just do that really well and pay the mortgage and make a lot of money doing that, right? So you take pride in that sort of stuff. You guys know, trade deadline, what are all the top teams looking for, that defenseman? So can those guys be that guy for us, a good defender, and you know what you're going to get every night from him.
Have you determined whether Travis Sanheim's going to play the left or the right? Because he was up here. He said he wasn't really sure who he's going to play with or even what side he's going to play with. Have you left it open that he could be on the left or right side?
Well, he's good enough to play both, and obviously I'd like to talk to him what he's comfortable with. I mean, I think as a coach, it's important that you have that dialogue. So for me, it's going to be it's a big debate. I'm a righty lefty guy. But there are some guys that can play their offside that are actually better. But can you play both? That's a luxury. So I'll leave it to when we have those conversations, how comfortable he is if he can on either side.
Is it gonna, because he's obviously going to be a big minute guy for you.
Yeah.
Is it when how do I ask this? When you're trying to determine who the sixth defenseman you have on,
The sixth guy?
Yeah, well, when you're
picking
picking your six guys for opening night,
Yeah.
right? Are you gonna think about his versatility when you're deciding on pairs that are second and third pairs, because you are a righty lefty guy? If there's a guy that's a third pair guy that's playing really well, it's a right hand shot. I mean,
Yeah, I
does that
know.
make sense?
Yeah. No, I understand. Yes, and that there is some dialogue and some thought process into that. Ideally, 3 rights, 3 lefts. That doesn't happen in the AHL. But there's some damn good defensemen that can play their offside, and so I think that's. But that will, it's a good point. You have a righty and a lefty, but you need the righty as a sixth guy, and they're even. Usually, you go to the guy with the forehand guy. Unfortunately, that's the way you go. So it's not an indictment of the other guy. It's just sometimes it's a little easier to play that way.
Curious where another guy who's in that battle is Emil Andre. But you mentioned Grans and Jennings. They're both, bigger guys. Maybe can bring some physicality. Andre plays an entirely different style.
Sure.
Is he in the mix for that sixth spot, or does he more have to fit in somewhere else if he's going to make it?
Well, he's in the mix. I mean, every practice, every game, he's got to try to separate himself the way he plays. You don't always have to be a big guy to defend. You defend with your brain, or you have the puck on your stick all night. Quinn Hughes, he defends. He has a puck on his stick all night, so he doesn't have to defend. So I'm not saying he is, but he has those attributes. I mean, he's good with the puck. Now he's just got to understand, the next play. You got to be careful you don't throw pucks away or you try too much. So that's the balance for a kid like him. Yeah, we want him to move the puck. We want him to join the rush. I want him to make plays on the blue line. If he wants to dance a guy, go for it. But be a little calculated. You got to be careful you don't throw pucks away or make those ill-advised passes in the middle of the ice. So that's the sweet spot he's going to have to find.
With Grans, one of the things that was talked about last season about he needs to work on is his physicality and being a more physical player. Obviously, Ristolainen is that guy in the line, but he's not going to be around. Are you looking for someone specifically to bring physicality with that sixth spot, or is it you just the best player? And with Grant, like, how do you work on that, I guess?
Yeah, that's a great question because, you know, you always want to see a guy when they have a chance or they're like on a bubble. What is he willing to do? Like everybody talks about, capable. I'm capable to do stuff. I'm capable defenseman, capable forwards. But it really comes down, what are you willing to do? Everybody's capable, but what are you willing to do? So I have to see that. What are you willing to do? Are you willing to play aggressive? Are you willing to box out? You're willing to block a shot? You're willing to help out your teammate. Those are the things, intangibles. Yeah, for sure, the skill part you're looking for, but it's the willingness, not just him, everybody. It should come from everybody. It's just not the bubble guys. But my point is, when you're trying to make something, you got to separate yourself from other guys. That's one of the things you got to do.
Tonight's roster looks almost completely different except for Rodrigo Abols. Is there a reason that you
Who's
kept,
that? I'm sorry,
Rodrigo Abols.
Yeah.
Is there a reason that you kept him in for this game and then changed everyone else around?
Yeah, I really liked his first period last game. I thought he was really good. He's a big guy, he could skate. I don't know him, but I just, from watching him, like, I love big guys that could skate like that. Can he fit a role? And, when you get a guy like that, I want to see how he can play 2-3 games in a row. I mean, the hardest part for when I find the guys that come up for the minors, they give you a good game and then they fall off. But how do you keep consistency? So I think it's a good, important game for him to see if he can be real consistent for us, and you never know. So I just wanted to see him. It was kind of my call.
Tyson Forester was on the ice. Obviously, the regular black jersey on. What were your thoughts on his on how he did today?
Well, I had that chance at top shelf, like in the slot. I mean, he's a hockey player. He's just it's hard to explain. Sometimes it's, what does he do well here or there? He's just a hockey player. He knows where to go. He's a smart guy. He can finish. Over in the World Championships, Sidney Crosby called me and told me that he loved him. Just his off the ice and a sponge and stuff like that. So when you hear that from one of the best players, that a guy on your team he really likes, he even said that about Noah Cates. So pretty good endorsement.
Last one? All
Hey,
right.
Coach, when you're doing these 2-on-2 drills,
Yeah.
3-on-3 drills, you like the physicality, you encourage that? You like that? You like to see that this early in training camp?
Yeah, I think it's important they have physicality. I don't want guys to kill each other, but the big message lately for me is you got to defend tired. Sometimes you're tired out there, and that's when you don't grab, don't trip. You got to keep your head. That's why I do those drills. So when you're tired, and I know Mike Sullivan used to say that to me, to the players, you can't be tired. Like, sometimes the player will go off and I'm tired. You can't be tired. And we like that mentality around you. You just cannot be tired. So that means you have to defend with details. So if you're doing those 2-on-2s aggressive, sometimes you can't be aggressive. Sometimes you just got to play a little bit, smarter. So that's kind of the purpose of those drills. And I don't want guys killing each other, but,